Well, joining the conversation right now, we have Donald Trump's campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, back on the set. Good to have you. I want to show you your candidate, Donald Trump, on the trail yesterday. Take a look.
A lot of very, very big poll numbers coming down over the last few days. You've seen it. We are going to win the White House. Going to win it. It's feeling like it already, isn't it? Just, we've got to be nice and cool, nice and cool. Right? Stay on point, Donald. Stay on point. No sidetracks, Donald. Nice and easy. Nice. Because I've been watching Hillary the last few days. She's totally unhinged. We don't want any of that.
So, Kellyanne, were you jumping at the TV saying, don't say what I say to you? Don't say what I say to you? Because that sounds like he's channeling some good advice.
He's doing a fabulous job. And the closing arguments are so different from these two candidates. I mean, she's gone totally negative. It's all over the papers today, Mika. Whatever happened to when they go low, we go high? She's gone lower and lower. Tens of millions of dollars negative ads about Donald Trump. We've always known from the beginning, the day I took this job, I told Mr. Trump two things had to happen. One was to make sure the election's a referendum on Hillary Clinton and not on him. And that's really what's happened this last couple of weeks. I think the most popular T-shirt we're going to see in these next 5 days is, I'm voting for the candidate not under 2 FBI investigations.
Kellyanne, what are the 1 or 2 states that your internal polls show our public polling is completely wrong, that you guys think you can win, that the public doesn't believe or the polls don't believe you can?
So I think most of the trends you see are blossoming in our private polling as well. Something we've seen for a while are Colorado and Pennsylvania, and you're starting to see that in the public polling as well. And it's not a big mystery. It's where we invest our 2 greatest assets, Governor Pence and Mr. Trump. So it's not like, and where we're putting our ads on TV. So we've now fully funded our ground game in these last 5 days. We've now fully funded push when people are really paying attention. And obviously, I think we've got them on the run. They're sort of following our lead. They're sticking Tim Kaine in Wisconsin. They're sticking Hillary Clinton in Michigan. To Joe's point about the October 18th article in the New York Times, where they're going to try to have a landslide and push forward in red states, I looked at that and I thought, well, that looks like a fine idea. Let's do that ourselves. And so we're pushing into blue states. I mean, look, if you try to apply conventional political wisdom to Donald Trump, you lose every time. The idea that, well, Michigan or Wisconsin have been elusive to Republican candidates. He's just different. His message on illegal immigration and trade and jobs and patriotism, he's just a different message. It's just a different messenger. And we see it resonating in Pennsylvania. I'll be in Pennsylvania later today with Melania Trump for a big speech.
Joe, jump in.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to Colorado, and I'm trying to figure out exactly what you guys saw in Colorado. And again, maybe it ends up with a big win for Hillary, who knows. But for weeks now, when polls were showing Colorado 10, 11, 12 points in Hillary's favor, people in your campaign were saying, no, our numbers, and it was almost like they couldn't believe it, our numbers are looking great in Colorado, a state where it doesn't really make sense, a large Hispanic population, highly educated, suburban voters around Denver. So what exactly did you all see 10, 11, 12 days ago that the public polls now only the past couple of days have been showing?
Well, a few things. First, Joe, Hillary's ceiling. I've talked about it many times, sometimes under a hail of criticism, but she just can't bust through her own plexiglass ceiling in so many of these states, including Colorado. We've also had our eye on Gary Johnson and Jill Stein's numbers in some of these states, including Colorado, where we've seen Johnson go from a much larger share of the electorate to a smaller share, and we always thought if we can reach in and get some of his voters, that would be very positive for us. The other thing we've seen in all of these states is we just model the electorate differently. We lived through the 2012 election and I felt as a professional pollster that the modeling was very static and not dynamic, and it was a lot of wishful thinking. And I'm not somebody who engages in wishful thinking. I'm a numbers person. Don't ever ask me to draw anything or decorate anything. You'll be disappointed. But I'm a numbers person. When you look at the data and you look at the dynamism that exists in partly the undercover Trump voter, but partly those who have already decided, this is the key to us, already decided that they want to take the country in a new and different direction and not continue continue with the same policies, yet they weren't yet voting for Donald Trump. In each state, we've looked at what percentage that is. Sometimes it's 15%, sometimes it's 28%. But we always knew that those would be our voters. We knew that a share of the electorate in each of these blue states have already decided to vote against Hillary Clinton, and it's our job to make sure that then they have reasons to vote for Donald Trump, and that's really made the difference in the last few weeks.
So Kellyanne, Pennsylvania has been fool's gold for your party at the presidential level for decades now. Year after year we see it, oh, we can win it, but you can't. What's changing this year for Donald Trump to change that equation for you guys?
In part, Nick, it's the Trump message. It's what I was saying earlier, and Bob Costa's reporting from Western Pennsylvania. But we see that this message is now resonating in other parts of Pennsylvania. It's really the access, AXIS, of jobs, trade, illegal immigration, and a lot of patriotism, in other words. I mean, we're going to be in Hershey, Pennsylvania tomorrow night. There'll be like 12 to 15,000 people there, I'm sure, because folks really feel like they're part of a movement. And in Pennsylvania, we've seen some gains in the non-presidential years, and I'm a student of the 2010, 2014 elections, for example, and I know people right now are tweeting, that's a different electorate. I get that. But my point is, if you can get a messenger who can reach in and tap into those 2010, 2014 messages, you could increase turnout. And part of that messaging was Obamacare. I mean, this is a party, and I was very involved in this. This was a party that did really well in 2010 and 2014, and if you asked me to choose one issue that made it so, it would be Obamacare. Here we are, just having lived through a month in October of premium increases, people literally opening up their mailboxes or clicking onto their computers and seeing that some of them are going to have to choose between the rent, the food, and staying on health care. In Pennsylvania, I think it's over 50% of the increases. Also in Pennsylvania, buried in a Hill article today, I believe it is, about the polling in Pennsylvania, and we see this internally, Joe, is that women in Pennsylvania, particularly in those collar counties around Philadelphia, near where I grew up, are starting to come back to Donald Trump.
So let's talk about women. Joe Biden called him a sick puppy and said his fixation on women's bodies is worse than Hugh Hefner's. And it goes on. I'm sure you heard it all.
We're going high, yes.
So, look, you know, I mean, look, the Obama administration has really worked on developing policies that help women in the workforce. They created the White House Council on Women and Girls. What would the Trump White House Council on Women and Girls look like? Will he continue that? And how does he, especially getting into these final days, appeal to women in a way that really makes them believe that he doesn't look at them as objects?
Well, we appeal to women substantively, Mika, because I have always pushed back against this idea about, quote, women's issues. What is that? I've never in 28 years of doing this heard the phrase men's issues. The presumption is that men can focus on all issues and that women are only supposed to talk about certain issues. We believe women care about security, whether it's national security, whether it's healthcare security, retirement security, and certainly financial security. We also believe that women are you know, the idea that there are councils and the idea that there's rhetoric about equal pay from a woman, Hillary Clinton, who pays women less than men at her State Department, in her U.S. Senate office, and most recently at the Clinton Foundation. It's just hypocrisy. As everybody's grandmothers told them, watch what I do, not what I say. And I think that's what voters are doing right now with Hillary Clinton, which is you can say that you've been fighting for women and children for 30 years. Where's the product and where exactly is the deliverable? We have millions of women in poverty as I sit here. 15% of the population is in poverty, predominantly female. Why do 16 million plus women not have health insurance after Obamacare has been on the books for 6 or 7 years? And we're going to tackle that. I think she needs to own all of these deficits. I mean, women are a product of their choices more than their circumstances today, and I think it's a wonderful time to be a woman in the United States of America. But to think that women have not been left behind, many of them, in the Obama-Biden presidency is just false. Look at the data. And, you know, this whole idea that we're just going to message, that they're just going to message to women based on things that Donald Trump has said here or there and not actually look at the policies. Look at his policies. He has a detailed plan to repeal and replace Obamacare. Anybody can read it. He has a detailed plan to reform the Veterans Administration. He's put forward a detailed plan to defeat radical Islamic terrorism, who I read in the paper just this morning has a guide posted on how to own female slaves. Hillary Clinton calls ISIS our determined enemies. Donald Trump calls them savage murderers.
What's his plan for equal pay?
So we believe equal pay for equal work is a great idea, and he's talked about that. And I think that if you look at the Trump Corporation, you look at the Trump campaign, frankly, women have been promoted by Donald Trump to the highest levels in the Trump Corporation and certainly his campaign. And I can assure you that he will take a look at the fact that now in our country the workplace is everywhere, the workforce is everyone, and really try to take a look at rewarding work in a way that doesn't just, it's not about government policies. It's about, I think, incentivizing employers to work with employees individually.
Kellyanne, before we let you go, I want to play for you a soundbite of something Donald Trump said on the trail last night.
We have massive crowds. There's something happening. They're not reporting it. Katie, you're not reporting it, Katie. But there's something happening, Katie. There's something happening, Katie.
Katie Tur.
Do you think it's appropriate for Donald Trump in a public setting like that to single out reporters, and not just an NBC reporter, any reporter by name, given the heat reporters have been taking in this, given the fact that Katie has had to be escorted out by Secret Service at previous rallies? Why is he calling people out by name in the back of the room?
Well, he obviously didn't mean it in any malicious way. You heard what he said. But I've spoken to NBC News about that issue, and I'll leave it there.
Would you like to shed any light on it?
No. Sorry.
Wow.
You can call me later.
Why can't we talk about it on TV?
But I will tell you just generally about the media. You saw the polls. I hope you saw them this week that by a margin of 10 to 1, that's kind of way outside the margin of error. By a margin of 10 to 1, Americans think the media want Hillary Clinton to win. I honestly think that the combination of Donald Trump railing against political correctness and him reminding people what they already suspect, which is that the fix is in many places, not all places, and not even most places, perhaps, Willie. But people are so tired of being told what to think, how to act, what to do.
Wait, how does that connect with Katie Tur, though?
It connects with the media generally. That is one of his biggest affirmative
I have never
talking
seen in
points,
her
which
reporting her telling anyone how to think.
No.
Once.
This is not about Katie. I'm extrapolating onto one of his major, compelling, and successful messaging points throughout this whole campaign, Mika, which is, don't let the establishment define you and tell you. And that really was the magic in the primaries, frankly. If you combine Ted Cruz, Donald Trump, and Ben Carson in the primaries, you're over 72% of the vote or so, because they were all against establishment organizations. Don't let people tell you, again, who can win, who can't win, what to think, what to believe. And look what's happened in just the last couple weeks. I mean, I really appreciated Joe on the set yesterday, and you as well, Mika, calling out, some of your colleagues in the media, not by name, but saying basically, you've been cheerleaders, not reporters these last couple weeks. What are these stories, particularly in print, by the way? And then they're repeated on TV. The race is over. She's going to have a landslide. People don't like that. It's their voice and their choice. And for many Americans, ladies and gentlemen, for them, it's the most important thing they'll do in the next 5 days.
Yeah.
It's the best part of democracy is that everybody has one vote.
Do you agree
Willie's
Donald Trump was
gonna call you
wrong to
later.
call Katie out?
I always prefer when he talks about institutions generally. And I had an exchange with Katie last night, and I've been in touch with NBC News.
Kellyanne Conway, thank you. And we should note that we asked the Clinton campaign for someone from their campaign leadership to join us this morning, but they declined to make anyone available.